We've got to think through who is the right person for this team. What qualities are you looking for? And there's a key question that helps you really figure this out. And so it comes down to this. When you're hiring and you're busy and your team is busy and you think, gosh, we need people who can do these things and then do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And before you know it, you've created a very diffuse role. And you cannot hire for a diffuse role. A lot of small business owners will say, I just need to hire a mini me. No, you don't need to hire a mini you. You're doing everything and you think you're doing it really well, but you're not. There's some things that you're really good in. Those are your strengths. And there's other things you're not good in and you're doing a mediocre job. And so if you hire another person and stick them in another diffuse role, no matter how good they are, they're going to do a mediocre job at some of the things that you're asking them to do because it doesn't play to their strengths.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here on the Strong by Design podcast. Hosting today, Coach Chris Wilson. It's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you for joining the show. If it's a first time listening, we are so encouraged that you've found our show. Maybe it was the little cool icon that caught your eye, or the words "Strong by Design" were appealing to you, and you were looking for some strength in your life. In some area of your life, whether that's in body, mind, or spirit. Whatever it is, we tackle a lot of different topics and issues of the day on our podcast, because living a life strong by design, it really goes beyond the gym. It's certainly physical strength, but it's also mental strength and emotional strength, and what's your spiritual walk life like. And there's so many different areas of our life that overlap, and it's hard to find balance. It's easy to be good at one thing and be really getting an F or failing in another area of your life. So we like to kind of cover everything to help people, really level up in those areas where they maybe feel they're coming up short. And so today's conversation, I think, will really help a lot of those entrepreneurs out there and those business leaders and those coaches and mentors, people that are leading others. We're going to talk with a very special guest about how to surround yourself with A+ talent in your work life, and creating that culture that you long to have wherever it is that you're leading others, or if you're a business owner or a supervisor or a manager. I mean, we're all kind of capable of creating that proper work environment, or that work environment that we long to have, that makes us excited to go to work every day. And so before we get into that, though, real quick, if you would hit 5 stars or leave us a review, we would absolutely love that. For those longtime listeners of the show, if you haven't done that, I'm not going to make you feel shameful for it, but hey, come on, help us out. That's how we grow. It's how we become more visible. It's how people find us, is by people talking about us and giving us some love. That's like giving us a thumbs up or something, right? So if you hit 5 stars, that really helps. Or if you think we're just kind of okay, give us 4 stars. I don't know. But leave us a review. Let us know what episode you've listened to in the past that you really enjoyed, a particular guest that you love that you'd like us to have back on. We would love to do that. We take requests here. And or if you just kind of have a general remark about the show, what it means to you, and you've been listening for a while and you like a particular host or topic, just let us know. We would love to hear from you. So thank you in advance for doing that. So our special guest today, Dr. Sabrina Starling, a lady that I met a few months ago at a podcast movement out in Denver, Colorado. I was out there with Jared, and we had a wonderful time. A really great time, and met some absolutely terrific people. And Dr. Sabrina was one of the people I met in one of the lectures And she approached me. Actually, her team member, I think, approached me first. I forget if it was you or your team member, and said, "Hey, the podcast shirt works, right? If you wear the podcast shirt, sometimes people ask questions about it." And sure enough, it was the shirt that did it. And so here we are podcasting with her today. She's a business psychologist, which is pretty fantastic. She is an international best-selling author of a few books. Actually, it looks like multiple books because I see a bunch over her shoulder. But a couple in particular, How to Hire the Best and the 4-Week Vacation. She's the founder of tapthepotential.com and host of the Profit by Design podcast. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? She and her team coach entrepreneurs to take their lives back from their businesses. Work supports life, as we know that, and not the other way around. They are on a mission to send, I thought this is very interesting, 10,000 entrepreneurs on a 4-week vacation in 10 years. That's a great goal to have. God knows we all need a little bit more unplugging and vacation time in our lives, especially those people that are just working and chasing their tails. So Dr. Sabrina, thank you so much for being on Strong by Design. Really wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Chris. I'm excited to be here. I love that Strong by Design has all these different perspectives to help us be strong. And so, like Chris said at the beginning, if you haven't left them a review, leave a review. That's how us podcasters, that adds fuel to our fire. So
that's exactly right. And let's give your show some love. So you're just a real quick tidbit before we kind of dig into some of the material. Yeah. What's your podcast and where should people go listen?
Yeah, so our podcast is Profit by Design. And so by design, obviously, is what caught our attention at Podcast Movement and why we struck up a conversation with you. We're all about being intentional in designing your business to be sustainably profitable and to support your life. So that's what we talk about on the Profit by Design podcast. And we're everywhere. We're on YouTube, Spotify, any podcast platform you'll find us.
That's great. I like to do that sometimes at the head of the conversation because oftentimes that information is left until the end, and it can be missed. And so I'd like to give your since we're podcasting, let's give another podcast some love for those business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people really that are maybe starving for some help in that business realm, because we all work in some line of business, right? And I know there's a lot of listeners out there and in our ever-changing world that are working from home, and they're kind of doing their startups or they're entrepreneurs and they're maybe brand new at it. And so they really need that guidance and that help and that feedback from people like yourself who can really lead the way for them. So that's wonderful. We're in a phase right now where we are growing here at Critical Bench, and we've grown quite a bit actually just in the last year and a half or so. And this is a topic that I wanted to do an episode on this, not with the owner of the company, and it just hadn't happened yet. Like, he's been so busy, and I've been busy enough with everything else that I'm doing where we just haven't gotten to this conversation yet specifically. And how great is it that it just worked out where you're the right guest for the same topic and we can really tackle this. And funny enough, a few years ago, we did an episode. Actually, it might have released. I'm trying to remember when it released. Maybe it was almost 2 years ago. The name of the episode was Top 10 Mistakes Candidates Make in the Interview Process.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh my gosh. And that episode does great. It continues to get just hundreds of downloads on a regular basis. And people are intrigued by this, by the process of getting hired, getting fired, business culture in the workplace, things like this, hiring the right talent, the right type of team players. So you're a perfect person to talk about this. Because building a team for an entrepreneur, you can't do it all. And I think that's one thing that entrepreneurs need to know is like you need to bring on some other support members, right? Even if it's part-time work or whatever, and they're doing it virtually for you. You're not a one-man show. Nobody is. It can be maybe for a little while, but it gets to be too much and you burn out. So you got to bring in other people that you trust, that are good or good fit, that show up, that are passionate, that and loyal and all these things. But how do you get there?
Yeah.
Like, it's a head scratch for people. Like, what system do you follow? What's the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it? How do you know when the person's the right person, or when to get rid of them if they're the wrong person? So
yeah,
I'd love to. I know it's a kind of really great big question I've just asked you, but how would you like to begin trying to answer it?
So I think I'll start with where I started with this, because I came at this. I was a psychologist by training, and I got burnt out because we couldn't hire enough team members in the mental health center where I was working. And the reason I got burnt out is because very severely mentally ill people would leave my office and they would thank me for the session, and they would say, "Thank you so much for listening. You've really helped me today. I can't wait till our next session." And I knew as soon as I sent them down the hall to schedule their next appointment, it could be 4 to 6 weeks before their next session. And that was like a jab in my heart. And I got to the point where I just couldn't take it. And I got very involved in learning what it takes to be a great place to work and recruiting in rural areas. So when I left that job due to burnout, I decided I was going to repurpose my skills as a psychologist, and I was going to be a life coach. Well, I was in Wyoming. I don't know if you've checked recently, but the demand for life coaching in Wyoming, not really great. And most of the clients who showed up were actually small business owners. And yes, they wanted help with work-life balance. But as I dug into it, what I started realizing is they didn't have a work-life balance problem. They had a lack of good employees problem. And they wanted me to use my skills as a psychologist to take their warm body team members and coach them up to be A players. And it doesn't matter how good a coach you are, you cannot take people who are mildly motivated and disengaged and make them into A players. And so I would say to these business owners, you're just going to have to let go of these warm bodies, because no A player is going to want to work here with this company full of warm bodies. And time and again, I would hear the same reply. "Well, Dr. Sabrina, you don't understand. We're a small business owner in a small town, in a rural area. We can't get good help. That's just the way it is." And that phrase, "that's just the way it is," really started to stick in my head. And I became alarmed when I heard myself saying it. And I thought, oh, this is bad. And then one morning, have you ever had that experience where you're asleep and you're transitioning from sleep to wakefulness, and you'll have this bolt from the blue idea that solves a big problem that you've been dealing with? Well, I didn't have this bolt from the blue idea, but what I did have was this powerful question that was running through my head as I woke up. And it was, what if it's not true? What if it's not true that because we're small business owners in a small town in a rural area, we can't get good help? And that question really got me curious. It put me on a quest, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find some small business owners who have A players on their teams. And I bet I could ask them what they did, and they'd tell me. And then I could maybe write a paper or something with that information to help small business owners. And so I found some small business owners, and yes, they had some A players on their team. And when I asked them if I could interview them, they turned me down. And I said, "I don't understand. Why don't you want to be interviewed?" And I said, "Well, here's the deal. Yes, I have this one person or these two people who are A players, but if I lost them, I have no idea what I did to get them. So I have no idea how I would replace them. I don't have any expertise on this. When I hire, it's like shooting in the dark. I don't know what I'm going to get."
Oh my gosh.
And they said, "You know what, Dr. Sabrina, if you find a solution, please come back and tell me. I'd pay so much money for that." And I thought, wow, this is something. And so I started looking for books because I'm a book person. I like books. I thought there must be some books. There were no books back then to help small business owners with hiring. All the books were written for corporate America. And it required an HR department and multiple team members to execute. It's not something that a small business owner could do. And so what I did is I went back to some of those business owners. I said, I know you have no idea how these people came to be on your team, but would you just please tell me the story of how they came to be on your team? And they said, oh, sure, I can do that. So I started collecting these stories. And then one evening, I laid them out on my living room floor. And I started noticing there were themes and patterns. And where there's themes and patterns, there's a system. And that's how I came to write my very first book in the How to Hire the Best series. And it was written for rural business owners because I was going to solve their greatest hiring challenges. And the craziest thing was, as soon as that book was out, I started getting phone calls from business owners in Denver, New York, New Jersey, San Francisco. And they would all start off the conversation the same way. I'm not in a rural area, but I have these problems. Do you think this will work for me too? And I said, you know what? I have no idea, but let's try it. Let's see. And sure enough, if it works in a rural area, it works exponentially better in a more populated area because you have more people. And so that's how I came to be helping business owners hire A players. And that was, 17 years ago. And since then, I have listened because I've gotten to have business owners in my courses, and I've listened to all the feedback, and I've taken here's the pieces that work, here's the pieces that don't work. And so my latest book for the How to Hire the Best, the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Team Members is really it's just concise. Here's what you do. And so that's a long way to answer your question, but it really starts with by design and being intentional with the A player that you want to attract. So we've got to think through who is the right person for this team. What qualities are you looking for? And there's a key question that helps you really figure this out. And so it comes down to this. When you're hiring and you're busy and your team is busy and you think, gosh, we need people who can do these things and then do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And before you know it, you've created a very diffuse role. And you cannot hire for a diffuse role. A lot of small business owners will say, I just need to hire a mini me. No, you don't need to hire a mini you. You're doing everything and you think you're doing it really well, but you're not. There are some things that you're really good in. Those are your strengths. And there's other things you're not good in and you're doing a mediocre job. And so if you hire another person and stick them in another diffuse role, no matter how good they are, they're going to do a mediocre job at some of the things that you're asking them to do because it doesn't play to their strengths. So we need to get really clear when we're hiring, if the person that we're hiring for can only get one thing done for us in a given day or a given week, what is that one thing? What result are we looking for from them? And once we identify that result, the next question is, okay, well, what strengths are needed to deliver that result exceptionally well, day in and day out? So now we're talking about personality strengths, and we're getting to the character, the qualities of the person that you're looking for. And there's one more key to all of this, beyond the personality strengths that you're looking for, is who are you as a person and as a company? What are your core values? How do you do business? What's important to you? And we want to take those core values and turn them into immutable laws, and they become our number one filter in the hiring process. So an example of this is at Tap the Potential, we help business owners create great places to work. And we believe in taking care of our team. We believe in work supports life, treating people with respect. We brought on a client who wanted help with growing their team and their leadership. And a few weeks into their work with us, they revealed that they were doing some shady payroll practices. My team brought it to me, and I said, we cannot support them. We cannot serve them. This is not okay. Right. They're not respecting their team. They're violating one of our immutable laws. And so we went back to them, explained our immutable law and the value conflict, and said, we're sorry, we can't support you in this, but here, you need to talk to your accountant, and you need to go talk to a lawyer. These are your people. And so we have to, as small business owners, we have to establish what are our values and not aspirational values, not, like, we want to be this way. And a lot of leadership development is based on aspirational values, where, we pick some beautiful values and we put them up on the wall and we say, we're going to be this way. But that's not really how it's done. And if you talk to the employees in the company, they'll say, oh, yeah, what are those values again? I have such a hard time remembering.
Oh, my gosh.
And when they can't remember them, it's because they're not lived every day, right?
Oh, my gosh. This is such a topic. I'm so glad you went there, and I was hoping you were going to go there, and you went there even better than I anticipated, because that is where it all begins. I remember it must have been about 6 or 7 years ago, and Mike and I, the team was smaller then, and it was just the two of us here that day. And Mike and I were talking. We had more time back then to just kind of talk about stuff in the business. This is me and the owner of the company, and we're longtime friends from high school. So we've been together for, over 30 years. And so he trusts me, and he knows I'm loyal and passionate and all these things. And so he'll confide in me in some stuff, and he's like, it's been bugging me because we don't really have a true vision for the business, and I don't have any real principles. What are the core values of this company? Yeah. And so we brought on a friend of ours who's a mentor to both of us, who's great in business, and just he's like 15, 20 years our senior. So we respect him. He's always full of wisdom. We said, if we bring in Dr. Ron, he will spend a day with us, and we will know exactly like what our vision and mission and core values and all this is. It took a day, and we developed it, and we've used it ever since as our filter for all decision making in the company, hiring, firing, who we work with, who we have relationships with, all of those things. And all of our people must know what these core values are, and they are regularly quizzed and tested and discussed. And he gives bonuses out in huddle meetings all the time for people to know what these core values are. And it's put out there when we hire. It's in the job description.
Yeah.
What these core values are, and if you don't align with them from the onset, then you're not a good candidate to work here.
Yeah.
I just love that you brought that up.
Yeah. And I want to share, because you guys got to bring someone in who helped you think this through, which is incredible. And that was so valuable. So I talk about $10,000 an hour activities. That's a $10,000 an hour activity, because you guys have used that to grow the business since then. It's tremendously valuable.
Yes.
And so I want to share a quick tip for your listeners who are wanting to identify what are their core values and turn them into the immutable laws of the company. And so first off, I want you to recognize that A players hang together, and we are attracted to each other because of commonalities and core values. That's how relationships are built, is we find people with similar core values. So when Caitlin and I were at Podcast Movement and we saw your t-shirt that said Strong by Design, we thought, they're thinking by design, they're intentional in whatever they're doing. We don't know what they're doing, but we're curious about them because we saw a commonality. And that's how this works. So to identify your core values, there's two simple questions. One is, what's made you proud lately? It could be in the business. It could be in your family. Anything that's made you proud, because that points to a core value. My youngest daughter has a lot of struggles academically, and we met with her teacher, and her teacher's going through, she needs help with her multiplication and her spelling. She's like, yeah, we know. And then at the end she said, and she is the most caring, thoughtful kid on the playground. And my heart just went boom, like it could have exploded. I was so proud of her, because we teach love. We teach to lead with love and take care of other people and look out for others. That's a core value. And so whatever makes you proud is a core value. Try to capture that value and put it in your own words. So like one of our immutable laws at Tap the Potential is lead with love. Look for the phrases that you say often. that will help you start to put these in real language. And the reason you want these in real language is because you'll use these phrases all the time in your day-to-day of doing business. And it's easier for your team members to remember them because it's real things that you guys are saying all the time. But the other question that you can use to get at your core values is, what's ticked you off lately? Because when we're angry and upset, it's a sign that one of our core values has been violated. So for those of you who are listening and you've been burned by bad hires in the past and you've had team members who've let you down, think about what they've done that's ticked you off and identify the core value that was violated and turn it into an immutable law. But don't turn it into a negative. So an example is no jerks allowed, which sounds great, right? But we're really speaking to what we don't want. Just turn that around and say, what do you want? Well, we at Tap the Potential, we want people who lead with love. That's what we want, or people who choose positivity over negativity. So always look for the positive spin on that immutable law and phrase it that way. And I have a toolkit. This is a free download with the How to Hire the Best book that walks you through how to start identifying your immutable laws and kind of figuring out what is that vision and what is that bigger picture that you're inviting your team members into, just like what you guys are talking about, how you've taken that and it's become what you've used for years in growing the culture. You can get our toolkit. There's no charge for it. tapthepotential.com/toolkit.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that little extra bonus resource in there.
Yeah.
That's fantastic and super helpful to people because you have a foundation. You need to be grounded in something, and it's such a springboard for business leaders and for entrepreneurs in that hiring process to just put their message out there, and it's to be clear with it, and there's no confusion. There's no, it's perfect. The clarity there of the direction you want to move in as a company and as a culture is clearly iterated in those core values and stuff. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to lean on and rest on. It's like, we all here have a very strong Christian faith. And so I mean, my Bible sits right here. I try to read it every day if I can make time for it. And I try to do that. But for us, I'm grounded in that biblically, and not that I'm perfect by any means. I make mistakes every single day that don't align with the things I want to do and want to become. But at least I have that there for me as a foundation, and businesses need that absolutely. They need that, and I love it because that if you do it right, Dr. Sabrina, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. If you hire and you take your time in that process and you hire the right person, the right people, the culture kind of takes care of itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because you're hiring men and women of character, and that culture that is brewing and formulating is based on that hard work that you put in at the onset.
Yeah. A lot of small business owners will say, I don't think I have a culture in my company. And yes, you do. It might be defined by your team members if you haven't put attention to your immutable laws, but your immutable laws, your core values are the seeds of the culture in your business. And it takes courage to put them out there and say, this is who we are, this is how we do business. But as soon as they're out there, you will find that some people are attracted to those immutable laws and they want to be a part of that.
Yep.
And other people,
Yep.
It's not for them. I've had people look at our immutable laws and say, no, you guys are not for me. I am okay with that, right? And the beautiful thing is when you start attracting those A players with those similar immutable laws, they become protective of the culture. And it no longer has to be the business owner who's confronting team members who are out of alignment with the immutable laws. The other team members will do it because it doesn't feel good to work with somebody who's violating those immutable laws.
That's right. It's 100% right. You do. You protect it because it's become very special to you, and it should be. If it's the right culture, it's something that, as I said earlier, listen, we all have our bad days. I'm a human being. I have my moments where, I walk in a building, but my mind is still at home, or still I'm stressed out, or I'm dealing with this, or I'm dealing with that in my personal life, or, but generally speaking, I'm very happy at work. I like to be in the building. I enjoy the people that I work with very much. I mean, they're kind of second family. I'm with them as much, if not more, than my own family. I probably see them more than my own wife because she's so busy in her line of work. And so to have those peers, to know we can make the small talk here and there in the cracks of the day, and we're friends with each other, and we kind of do life together, and we all have kids at roughly same ages, but we can still go into our offices and shut our doors and get our work done. But just being in an environment, knowing where you're supported and cared for and loved on a little bit, is such a big deal. And if you don't have that, I think you really, people should not take that for granted. And I'm sure a lot of people don't. But I think a lot of people are missing this. And there might be people listening that aren't true entrepreneurs or business leaders. They're more just kind of like, they feel like they're just cogs that just kind of show up, but they hate where they go to work every day.
Yeah.
Well, then you need to find a place like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You need to find a place that makes you jump through lots of hoops at the beginning. And then that's a work environment that's probably worth working in.
Yes. And you're speaking to something I think is so important. We spend so much time at work. And if we're not happy in our work, it affects us overall. And it really brings down our health. It brings down our mental health. And so we all deserve to work in a great place. And as a psychologist in training, I had the privilege of working in a variety of settings that were run by psychologists and psychiatrists. And I got experiences in some great places to work and some awful places to work. And I really felt the difference. And I was baffled because I thought, you know what? If psychologists and psychiatrists who are trained in human well-being and mental health cannot get workplace culture right, what hope do the rest of us have, right? And
That's
so
right.
Everyone deserves to work in a place where you are safe and supported. You don't have to worry about being attacked, being belittled, being put down when you try something new. Somebody's going to get upset with you. You don't deserve to work in a place like that. You deserve to work in a place where you feel safe and supported. And Chris, you hit on the camaraderie. That I hear that over and over from our team members at Tap the Potential. We're a virtual team. We are all across the country. It's very rare. It's like once or twice a year that we all get to be in person. But they love coming to our Zoom calls because they know that we're going to ask them about their life, what's going on, how can we support them. That camaraderie is there, and that's so precious. And when we have that camaraderie, we will go the extra mile, right? Because you feel like you're a part of a team that's working together toward something great and important because there's a vision, right? And so that feeling of I'm a part of something bigger than me, we all want that. And so for the business owners who are listening to this, that's what you need. You heard Chris say it. You need immutable laws, core values, and a vision. You need a story. And the story that you want to create is not about you, the business owner, being the hero. And I know, we all would like to be the heroes. No, the story is about our clients and customers and their greatest challenges. And our team members, not us, our team members are the heroes in solving those greatest challenges and supporting our clients and customers. And when our team members can see their hero role that they step into every day, they're going to show up strong and powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like the Luke Skywalker story, right?
Yeah.
Luke didn't know his greatness until Obi-Wan and Yoda were there for him as their guide, as his guide, but he was the savior. He was the one, but he needed them. And you're, as the business owner, business leader, you're the Yoda, you're the Obi-Wan, but you're not the magic maker.
Right.
The magic maker is your team.
Yes.
And you're supposed to kind of be floating around in the behind the scenes and kind of, helping them to hit that potential, to tap their potential, right? And to really, really level up their game. And that's what great leaders are able to do, is get the very best out of the people that work for them. And the only way to do that is to show how much you care for them, and to respect them all, and to engage with them regularly and communicate regularly with them and all those things. And even if you have a virtual team, you could still have a great culture. Our team is split. We have several men and women in-house, but we have a lot of men and women all over the country and all over the world for that matter. I oversee our customer support department, and several of our agents are in the Philippines. And so I do bi-weekly team calls and there's 8 of us on this call, and I go around and we talk about life. I ask them about what's something great that you did this week. And I want to know these people. I want them to know that I care about them, but beyond the numbers and beyond how well they're doing work in the help desk. And I think they feel that. And, we send them packages with our shirts and stuff just to let them know that they're part of the team too. And a lot of them will wear the shirt just for the call. They'll put on their Strong by Design or their Critical Bench shirt because, for them, that's a meaningful thing to be part of that. And we all want to be part of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that, for me, that's the only way to do it. I've always been a team player, rah-rah kind of guy, just from, when I was younger. And that, of course, all that sports and all that stuff really just carried into how I conduct myself in the business place.
So, Chris, I want to ask you a question, if it's okay. I'm going to turn the tables here.
You can always ask me a question. Me, I'm a talker.
when we were coming on the call, you told me you guys hire A++ players. I would love to hear you talk about your definition of an A++ player.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, for us, A++, and there's a lot of different competencies that we look at on our sheet when we're kind of reviewing the interview and the notes and all of these things. But we look at our 7 core values, and the 7 core values are positive attitude, integrity, gratitude, service, passion, decisiveness, and faith. Faith is kind of the one that, as long as they're not closed off to the fact that we're very open with the fact that we're Christian here, then they're okay with that. They don't have to be have a church that they go to every week. They have to be okay with that one. But the other 6 in particular, they have to get, in our opinion, what we call an A++ mark, or if we scale it with numbers, it's usually a 1 to 6. They would need to get 6s for every one of those main core values. And if they don't get a 6, then they're not eligible for the position. So it's one thing to be okay. It's one thing to get, a B on something or a C, and that sometimes you work really hard for that grade. But when it comes to character, and when it comes to personality, and when it comes to work ethic and some of these other things, you have to have some guiding principles that you will not deviate from. They either hit this mark or they're not an option for us. So for us, that A++ talent, because listen, the day they show up for the interview, that's the very best you're going to see them in terms of they better show up on time.
Yeah.
They better look right. If they're not bringing their A game on day 1, what do you think you're going to see day 173? Right?
Oh,
so
that's
our thing. We have, right? So that for us, even the owner, he puts in place something that if we actually follow through with our interview process for somebody, a candidate who shows up 1 minute late, he himself has to, I forget what his penalty is. He has to send like $10,000 to like some awful thing that he does not want to support. I forget, like he has something, yeah. Or no, he has, I think that was his original thing. Then he changed it to he has to give every employee $1,000. If he, right. So, I mean, we have to set ourselves up. If they're a minute late on the day of the interview, then they're going to always be late. They're going to be late all the time for anything. There can't be like show up a half an hour early or sit in your parking lot, and twiddle your thumbs, listen to music and kill some time or something. But there's certain things that you cannot you cannot deviate on, or you cannot be lenient with, and that's our A++ approach to bringing on team members.
I love that. And you're actually touching on something that my team and I had an aha around recently. And we were doing an employee review, and on the immutable laws, we rate, 1, 2, 3. So we have a very simple rating system. 3 is exceeding expectations, 2 is meeting expectations, and 1 is not meeting expectations. And we had a team member who was getting 2s on the immutable laws. And my leader on our team said, you know what? Why would somebody be getting 2 on our immutable laws? They should be getting 3s. Like they need to be exceeding expectations and really living this. And that was an aha moment for us that their engagement was slipping, and because they'd had 3s previously, and now it's coming down to 2s. And so those A++ players have to exceed on those immutable laws, on those core values.
I really believe that, and that's okay to have that. And it doesn't mean, again, that we can't have moments throughout our work-life experience or our work experience where maybe our 6 becomes a 5 for sure. But that's up to your supervisor, your direct supervisor, or the owner, or whoever is in charge running the show, to pull you aside or to schedule time to meet and say, hey, listen, I noticed something. Like you're doing all these, you Oreo cookie it. You're doing all these things so very well. And, so I give you high marks here, and here, but I've noticed is there anything going on?
Yeah.
That and talk with them and communicate. And most likely there is. And then you navigate those murky waters together and be like, because I know what you're capable of. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of just kind of recent. And so let's work together to kind of get you back to 6 there.
Yeah.
And then you work at it. It's not like you're like, oh, you're off the team for it. It's just, we're human beings, and we will struggle, and it's hard to keep all the plates spinning. Yeah. At the same time, right, in life, right? We all have 5 to 10 plates spinning above our heads, right? And we're trying to balance them and keep them spinning. And sometimes we drop one, or one starts slowing down, and and that's just the nature of being a husband and a father and a coworker and a coach, and all these different hats that I'm wearing in my life that you're wearing in your life, and life can get the best of us, but every day is a new opportunity to show up and get back to an A++ effort. I love when people have all these the books there displayed behind over the shoulder there. Uh-huh. And I know few of them are yours. Are they all yours, or are those just some of your favorites mixed in with also your
mine
books?
And some of my favorites. So I've written the How to Hire the Best series and the 4-Week Vacation. And the 4-Week Vacation is all about taking your life back from your business, because when you have a growing business, it's just going to take over your life. And, hiring great team members is a part of that. The other books behind me, though, are books that have had a profound effect on me and my business over the years, and they're tools that we use with our clients. So one of them behind me is The Pumpkin Plan. And The Pumpkin Plan is all about identifying the sweet spot of your business. And this ties in right with what we're talking about here with the immutable laws, because we want to protect our teams from bad clients and customers. And so when we bring clients and customers into our businesses who violate our immutable laws, we're not taking care of our teams because we're allowing them to be mistreated. And so when we are identifying the sweet spot of our business, we're really looking at who are our top clients who value what we're doing the most, and what is it that they appreciate the most about what we're doing for them, and then the systems that we put in place around that. And what's interesting about this is that we as business owners and team members will say, here's what we do for our clients. This is why they like us. We're coming up with that out of our own head, and we're always wrong. And so we teach our clients that you want to interview your top clients and customers and hear what they're saying about what they appreciate about what you're doing. And for myself, an example is I used to go around talking about disengaged employees and helping you with your disengaged employees. When I did my top client interviews, no one ever used the word disengaged employees. They always talked about warm bodies. And one person, when I said, how would you describe what I do? Because I was really having a trouble because I'm not a coach. I'm a psychologist, but I use coaching skills, and I was really having trouble coming up with a label. And he said, you're my business psychologist. And I thought, yeah, you're right. And so we need to listen to our top clients and customers and hear how they see us and the key phrases they use to describe what we're doing for them and what they appreciate most about what we're doing for them, and use that as part of our branding strategy so that we attract more clients and customers like them. And it all comes down to the immutable laws. And when you create a great place to work, you have great team members and you have great clients and customers. And guess what? The team members like the clients and customers, and the clients and customers like the team members. And it's because there's common immutable laws there.
Yep. We had a live event earlier in the year where we were looking for some great new local talent for our YouTube channel. Coaches who could come in and were well-spoken, had the right look and energy, and could teach in videos. And we had a great cast that showed up. We broke it up into two segments, a morning and an afternoon segment, and had about 15 different people show up over that course of the day. And we set it up American Idol style, where we had, I was one of the judges, there was other judges, and we rotated through actually some judges, and we made our big break room space like into a tryout area. It was wonderfully done. We have a lot of good videos on our YouTube channel that show you, that highlight the best people that came. But many of them said when they were in the building and interacting with some of our team members and some of our other coaches that were here just to be part of the day, they said, wow, I love the energy in here. Like, I love there's a vibe. It was palpable. And I heard it from multiple people where they just by entering the building, they could just feel it.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I'm like, yeah, that's on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the way we do it around here. We want people to feel that way when they come in here. Like, something's different about these people, about this place.
Yeah.
There's something special going on here.
Yeah.
And if you can create that in your workplace, you've arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hold, like you said earlier, you hold on to that closely.
Mm-hmm.
And let your team members will fight to keep it.
Yeah. And I want to bring this full circle with what you just said right there, because when I was sharing with you about the business owners that I was working with in Wyoming who were telling me we can't get good people, as soon as I came up with the how to hire the best system from kind of piecing everything together that I was hearing from these business owners, and I shared it with them, and I said the first step is to identify what you want to create. Let's design this. What culture do you want? Who are the A players that you want? And I had them do that, and then they would go out, and I didn't know what was going to happen because this was all new back then. I was experimenting, right? And within a week later, they would show up on these calls, and they'd be like, I found my person. They were right under my nose the whole time. I was like, what, are you kidding me? And they're like, no, really? I found my person. And I started hearing that time and again. As soon as we'd identify what we're really trying to create and what we're looking for, we're putting that energy out there into the universe with clarity. Number one, it's no longer muddled and, hidden. It's clear. And we are also training our brains to look for the people who are like that, and we will see them around us. So I want to give hope to the business owners, the small business owners who's listening to you talk and think, boy, if I could create a culture like that, that just feels like such a heavy lift to do that. No, you can start by being intentional with what you want, name it, own it, and it's there. You just have to go for it.
Wonderful. I love it. Such great advice. I think it's very helpful, just there's many nuggets in this conversation today for people, and there probably some heads are spinning listening to all of this, like, oof, you could feel overwhelmed. But as I always say when it comes to exercise, just start small. Start small. Write your vision, write your mission down. What are your core values? What are those 5 to maybe even 10 things, principles that you want to adopt as a person and in your business, and work from that? That's your go-to. That's your sheet there. And then everyone's kind of tested against that, and you're looking for those A++ players and how they align with what those core values are. Where should people go to get your books?
Well, my books are on Amazon.
See all your great books?
Yeah, my books are on Amazon. Okay. The website, tapthepotential.com, we have tons of resources there to support small business owners. The Profit by Design podcast, I teach regularly on the Profit by Design podcast, and I love getting into the how-to kind of teaching there. So if you thought this was really helpful today, there's tons more on the Profit by Design podcast. And we bring in real life business owners, and we talk about these real issues and how they're grappling with these challenges too. So, and then of course is the How to Hire the Best toolkit, which is available at tapthepotential.com/toolkit.
There you go. Wow. Amazing. Thank you for all these great resources, and people can go grab go on Amazon, grab books, How to Hire the Best, and The 4-Week Vacation by Dr. Sabrina Starling. And this has just been absolutely a wonderful conversation. You nailed it. You were right on. You're so in line with everything we're doing here at Critical Bench and the Strong by Design podcast. So it was a really just a wonderful connection for us to make in Denver. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Me too. And, I'm so glad we connected.
Yeah, just terrific. Listeners, thank you so much for, again, listening to the Strong by Design podcast. Now's the time to share this episode with a friend or family member. Certainly there's somebody in your life who could benefit from all the wonderful information that Dr. Sabrina had for you today. If you could hit that 5 stars, leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next week on the Strong by Design podcast. God bless you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.